Welcome. This is Ilasa Tina Marie, and I am here with you to just go over a few of these slides so that you can hear my voice along with the reading. This beginning of the Quantum Akashic Records course is first just to share a little bit about what the Akashic Records are. They have grown in my awareness to mean more than they have throughout this incarnation. They've evolved into understanding them in a quantum way. So the Akash is ether, space. And ether in space, the Akash, that field, the divine mind that's holding many possibilities. It's holding light and the various frequencies of light slowed down and sped up. And those light packets are holding information. And the information they're holding is information that has been discharged or sometimes fractaled out information of the light that you are projecting from the soul consciousness. As you step into higher levels of consciousness, even out of soul into space, you are working with a different type of presence. So we're specifically speaking to the light records, the Akashic records that are held in the field of Akash. And these information packets are typically times when you had a strong emotion, so a charge of emotion, an emotion, that imprinted a thought and created a record. It created a conception point, like dropping a pebble in a pond, that was holding information that then rippled out in all directions to create an infinite amount of possibilities from that finite moment. So from that finite moment where there was a emotion and a resonant thought or belief or a witnessing of something going on that had you thinking about what you were witnessing, it created a record, a recording. And so because those recordings are infinitely expanding, it is said that the Akashic Records are holding all that has happened, will happen, and is happening, all the potentials and the probabilities. So when we're looking at the Akashic Records, we're typically looking for, why is something happening right now? Because I am usually experiencing a ripple of programming that was coming from an original conception point, an original moment, excuse me, an original moment where I had that strong feeling and that belief or thought that then has led me down a cycle of similar, higher vibrating or lower vibrating realities that I would call ascended realities or descended realities connected to that conception point. And if I'm not feeling that which is happening right now, that pattern, that behavior, that imprint, that experience that I'm going through is not in the highest of my loving being that I'm evolving into and remembering myself to be, which is present and in love. For when I am present, I'm out of time. I step out of these Akashic records. And I'm able to, in the now, live from love and joy. So most of these Akashic records were imprinted from feelings and emotions that typically were fear, F-ear, things that we heard, things that we felt that were underneath the heart. They were below the heart. They were below love. And if we're looking just at two emotions, love and fear, that fear emotion, once we expand it out, can have many different subsets of emotions underneath that one emotion of fear, like an umbrella. The typical 4 that we look at are manipulation, survival, control, and I want to say there's one more, but let's just say fear itself for right now. Okay, so manipulation, control, power, and survival. That was it. So those 4, power struggles, feeling like am I going to survive? Feeling like you were manipulated or you're manipulating to control the situation. When those are the driving factors of a choice, of a reality, of doing something in this now moment, it is those types of Akashic records that we are looking to retrieve and find. Where is the conception point? Where did I first drop a pebble in the pond of ether to create a reality that I am experiencing now infinitely in this now moment, from that finite moment that I chose because I was afraid? And if you can find that, typically it's, another lifetime, or it's pre-7 years old. Those beginning points, those conception points, if you can find those beginning conception points and address them and say, oh, wow, I see I was witnessing my parents struggling. And I then created this same struggle in my own life, later as an adult. Or, wow, I was misunderstanding what was going on as an infant. And I then created everything in the similar, archetypal subsets where I have a mother and father figure around me, or, authority or anything of such nature, guardian. I then have similar situations happening that I was witnessing as a wee one, when my mind was very slow and taking things in. It was very malleable. So when we do this work, sometimes you can do the guided meditation and get real relaxed so that your mind, the brain waves slow down to alpha, beta, and epsilon, and theta, so that you can, become a malleable plasticity of the mind being that can allow things to shift. So that's what we're doing. We're looking at these Akashic records. When we say quantum, we mean what finite conception point moment can you review or recall so that you can deal with that beginning point, so that you have a new subset of reality possibilities infinitely, so you can call back all the potentials that you fractaled out from those original conception points and say, no, thank you. I understand why they exist, but I'm going to now center in my heart through neutrality, through understanding of what was going on, from clarity. And I'm going to offer forgiveness, right? Because if I can forgive my own mind, that my mind had created these subconscious, unconscious programs called Akashic Records, and that I've been running those unconscious programming instead of being present and love and making new choices based on love. And as I forgive myself, my own mind, I may forgive others and see them differently now, right? Because it's up to you. You can choose. The mind will believe you when you get relaxed on new choices that you make, when you deal with what was needing to be weeded out of the garden. These fearful thoughts and fearful programmings that maybe you just didn't go look for. You didn't find those beginning points so that they could be done, be understood, overstood, and then be released. For when we understand something, then we can allow it to shift. That understanding allows for a discharge of those emotions, those particles, to come out of a fixed point of view, a fixed position in ether and space, and recoil back home to you. So sometimes you will feel this wanting to cry. And that's okay. And it's actually welcomed, because if there are tears, they will do that discharge of emotion, and they will vibrate those particles of light into a new frequency. So when we allow that emotion to roll, it will literally vibrate and accelerate the particles of light so that they can lift out of that, cobweb, that imprint, and change position with a new thought, right? So you are going to be given opportunities after you understand and you forgive and release any emotion to have compassion, and then to smile and accelerate into your heart. So you get to free up all that stored energy on the inner, at the energy centers, the lower 3 energy centers, 1, 2, and 3 at the root, sacral, and solar plexus. They are dominated by the emotions, or they work well with fear, manipulation, control, and power, and survival. So when you release those types of programs, they're going to relax. They get to discharge on the inner, and they get to pull back from the field all of that energy that you've been using to keep them in place because you didn't even know how to get to it. So it gets to be freed up, and that energy that then is freed up gets to actually rise to the heart to feel love. It gets to rise to the throat to speak truth. It gets to rise to the mind's eye, the 6th energy center, and the crown for stability and clarity, so that you can then, as you complete the session, have an upgrade and visualize something new. Visualize yourself smiling. Let yourself hear inside yourself or out loud, I am so happy and grateful that now my life works well for me, and it works well for all beings. All beings are happy. I am happy. All beings love and accept me. I love and accept me. You get to make new subconscious programs when you do your upgrades, and you get to smile so that they have a new imprint of love and joy on them. And that's going to begin to accelerate you into a new trajectory of an ascended timeline. If you're still working with time and schedules, you're going to rise up, and it's going to be more joyful. If you're coming completely out of time and you are stepping into your full presence and you're following the flow and following your heart, it's going to give you the ability to do that as well, because you won't have these anchors, these tethers, these heavy weights out in the ether. And it is weighted. There is density. There is actual physical weight. And when we release it, you will become buoyant, light, lively, and able to move about on the seemingly plane, as well as you go deeper into courses with me in the quantum, we learned that we're actually not even going anywhere. We're projecting into space in front of us what we're seeing, and those light particles arrange themselves into that which we see. So we won't go there just yet. But welcome aboard. Let's keep going.